Prina's already asked how you are, but do you want to introduce yourself and sort of the show that you are producing
Yeah.
by popular demand, and sort of just tell us a bit about that?
Yep.
Yep.
Now?
Yeah.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we are recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No.
Sorry. Yeah, I should have
Yeah.
made that clear. We are recording. Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. True. Yeah, we are recording. Yeah.
Well, my name's Dr. Rod Davies. I'll give you my title. I'm a lecturer in the School of Music and Performance. I've got a background in popular music, and so I was part of the team that started popular music program at Monash in 2016. So my performance background included a lot of television. I did a lot of TV between the mid 90s and the mid 2010s. So I worked on shows like Hey Hey It's Saturday, and then through Australian Idol, and I did 15 seasons of Dancing with the Stars in the house band there. Australia's Got Talent. I did all those TV shows, and so I got to sort of, feel what it's like in a studio with a live band and an audience. Recovery was another show that was on in the 90s. And it's sort of something that's sort of disappeared in the last 10 years or so.
Right.
And so, but I know what a valuable experience it is for musicians to play in that environment. And it's also a really good vehicle for songwriters to have their songs heard, right? Because they get to play them live. And so I was talking to an old cameraman colleague of mine and about this and we thought, well, what about if we did a show with the students and, focus it on the third years because they're in their final semester and so it's a project, right? But involving all of the popular music students in all of the other roles, of stage, lights, audio, cameras, everything, right? Mixing, multi-tracking, all that sort of stuff. So so we gave it a go last year, in 2022, and we made our season 1, which only had 3 episodes, and then we followed it up this year with 20 acts. I think we had 12 the first year, 20 acts appearing in series 2. So it just gives students a really good insight into a different type of performance and a different type of music making, creating, and I guess to use a really modern term, content making.
Yep.
So and then what I've seen is that it's been pushed out through our Instagram page and everything, and it's really highly engageable, even with the short snippets. There's lots and lots of people really keen to see what their friends and family and all that are doing. So.
Oh, you said that I think you briefly sort of glossed over, but I was really keen to know what do you think is the key difference between live performances and performing live in front of a studio and sort of being recorded that way?
Yeah.
What do you think is the main sort of
Yeah, well, I guess the main thing is because the performance is being captured.
Yeah.
That there's a little bit higher stakes.
Ah, right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and to get it right because it's going to live on. People are going to be watching. They're going to be watching themselves back in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
And so, and I think there's something really key to that. Being able to sort of put aside all of the distractions and the nerves or whatever, and do a really good performance one time, right? And I think that's the main thing that's different. And there's an energy to that as well.
Yeah.
It's like I've just come out of the studio with our second years where the singers there hadn't been in a recording studio before, and they're all saying afterwards, "Oh, that was so much better than I thought it was going to be."
Right? Yeah.
So, because it is a different type of thing, whether you're in a recording studio or a TV studio, and it's fun. You know, I think people realize that once they've done it.
Right. And I saw that this year you guys have added a live sort of studio audience as well. So it adds another layer to it this
That's
year
right.
as well.
Yeah. And we're hoping that that'll grow more in the next season. We want to open it up to people to come and watch the show, get it, book a seat and actually come and see it.
Right.
People from friends and family as well. But even, anyone who's a fan of the show can come and watch season 3 get shot.
Right.
So.
That would be really exciting.
Yeah.
I've sort of had a bit of a read of your bio page as well, and I sort of inferred, I guess, from what you've done over the years that you've had a hand in just helping people sort of the behind the scene processes of music making. And I was wondering I don't know what the question is technically, but it was just really interesting to sort of read about it. And I was wondering, like, do you have any like thoughts of like over the years, you know, you've done so much, like you've been so much help to like so many different musicians, and they're like so different in style. So like, how do you sort of like balance that? But yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so my career as a musician was really in a support role. That was my job.
Yeah.
So I was what is commonly called a session musician.
Right.
So I would be employed to sing on people's records, or I would do ads, I'd do movie soundtracks, just whatever people needed me to do as a singer. And then I would tour with artists, as well as a backing singer in their band and that sort of thing. So I was always kind of in that supporting role doing that. It's a really fun sort of role to have because you don't have all of the the high stakes.
Yeah.
It's not all writing, or you get to ride on the coattails of some really great artists. So I guess what happened when I became a university lecturer, an academic, was I wanted to pass some of those experiences on to young people because
Yep.
a lot of those things are much harder to find these days. So, but there are still things that you can sort of learn about in order to get a lot of fulfillment, a lot of success out of your music career. So, how do you be a session musician in 2024? It's not the same as it was for me in 1994, right?
Right.
But what does it look like now? I'm interested in that because so many musicians want to be featured performers, but they're not all going to be that.
Yes.
But they can all potentially be a support role.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're coming in from like sort of, yeah, that makes sense, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. And I was wondering how this sort of plays into the popular music course that you helped create it, as you said, in 2016. I was just wondering because popular music, when people hear about it, when I heard about it, I thought of something completely different. But after watching the show, there's a lot of different genres, and with your history as a session musician, and like you now teaching it, there's so many people with so many different things that they bring to the table. And I guess I always thought like musicians as really like they have strong characters and individualism. So how do you sort of like navigate through that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When we talk about popular music, as you say, it's really broad, and I think most people understand that there's lots of different styles and genres, but what we want is for people to be really explorative and brave with the music that they're writing and their acts that they're performing and all that sort of. We want them to push the boundaries. That's where the art is in popular music, is going out into the deep end, so to speak. So we want people to be creative and brave. But at the same time, we also want them to be really disciplined,
right? Yeah,
and good to work with, professional, right? All that sort of stuff. So we do balance out, the freedom aspect with that professional mindset of how can you be the best collaborator, that you can be, and I think that's where those two things come together of each person's got their own style and their own artistry, but they're also lending themselves to others all the time. And you notice on the show, that you've got someone who features one week and the next week they're singing backing vocals or playing keyboards for another act, and that's happening all the time. And so it's that two paths that they can go down, and neither of those paths is any better than the other. You know what I mean? You can be a great artist, but you can also be a fantastic support to others, either as a songwriter or as a performer or whatever.
Yeah. So. And I guess like sort of a comment, I guess not really a question. It's just that after like interviewing a couple of the artists, I think the comments have been really like sort of, there's been a lot of comments about how they've been supported to sort of amp up their skills. And what you said in the beginning about being more disciplined and stuff, I think someone here and there has mentioned, sort of alluded to, just sort of adding on to the skill sets they already have and sort of just expanding, sort of just honing down into the voice, their sort of individual voice and like the genres that they go for. Which is, it's pretty cool.
So I have a question. Were there any setbacks you had when you decided you wanted to create this show, and like how did you overcome these setbacks?
Um, Look, I wouldn't call them setbacks. I think we've had good support from the school. Having probably getting the technical support is
Mhm.
probably the hardest thing
Mm.
because yeah.
Same, same.
Why is tech support so
Why is
hard?
tech
Yeah,
support?
but
Everybody's doing a degree in it. Why is it so
I know,
hard?
I know. But we have had that support. It's
Yeah.
been there, and but I guess just the first time we did it in 22, we'd never done it before, so we were kind of guessing a lot of how it was going to work in that space. We pieced it together a little bit more, shot things separate. Like you said, um, we had a live audience this year, so it was a little bit more contained in the one place. But yeah, so we were just unsure. So if you, I wouldn't call it a setback, but the challenge of not knowing if we could actually do it was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
that was the trick
Yeah.
or the tricky thing. And then once we sort of done it, it was like, okay, now we know this is the new bar.
Yeah.
Let's raise the bar for season 2, which I think we did. And now we're going to do it again in this year, and raise the bar again. Um, so yeah, so not a setback, but rather a challenge, I'd call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you make it better?
Exactly. Do you have any advice for people who want to go into this particular industry, seeing that you've had like a vast experience in this industry? Like, is there anything that you would say, okay, look out for this, or like, don't go in thinking it's going to go this way and it goes this way instead? Like, if, yeah.
Yeah. Do you mean as a session musician or it's specifically about TV or what
It could be just in the industry in
in
general.
general?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the music industry in general, because it is like something very hard to get into.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, if there's like some advice you could share.
Well, I've always thought that if you can be really clear about what you can do, either by explaining it or demonstrating it, and it's something that people need, right? Then you're going to be in demand. Especially if you can also demonstrate that you're a good person to hang with, right? Because
Yes, personality matters.
yeah, it is
It
massively.
really does.
It really matters, and that's part of the networking
Yeah.
thing, right? Yeah. They're a really interesting person, really great person, and I think they'd be really great for that project. It's almost like secondary if they're going to be good for the project. They're going to be great to work with. They're going to be great on the team. Because so many music projects are just team based, right?
Yeah.
So that would be number one. Would be just be yourself, be authentic, but be there for everybody. I think the thing that sticks out a lot is when people have agendas and they're in there. They're either there to compete or rather than collaborate.
Yeah.
They're the things that people pick up on really quickly.
Yeah.
But if you're there as a true collaborator, I think you'll keep on getting invited back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I sort of have it's not super related, but it sort of reminded me of something of like with about you, I guess. That's a bit weird because we just met. But I think when I was watching one of the interviews on season 1 where you were interviewed there, and you mentioned before that you had Bachelor of Science, but then you were in a music degree first, and then you dropped that, and then you went into a Bachelor of Science, and then you went back into music. And I've just always been sort of really fascinated with people that can do that, like have the courage to sort of just do like drop your music degree thing and then go to your science and then finish that and then go back to music. And I just sort of want to hear about your experiences in that.
Well, so I mean, I started music really young, and so music was always the thing that I did. When I got to a certain age, I can't remember how old I was, probably 22 or something. I was also a bit of a science nerd, and at high school, and it's a funny. Well, it's not a funny story. It's a good story. So my mum,
Yep.
right when I
Yeah.
was around that age had a brain tumor, right?
Right.
And she survived, right, the operation, but her personality changed.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
It was quite amazing. So I started becoming interested in psychology. That was what got me back into science. So what I wanted to do was study neuropsych. So I came here to Monash in 1992 and did a Bachelor of Science with a sort of like a double major in psych and physiology.
Yep.
And it was just a fascination for me. And I did think about, whether I was going to go down that path. But I graduated, I did over 4 years, and I graduated whatever year it was, 95, 96. But that year, my music career took off because I've been doing it the whole way along.
Right, yeah.
But it just, like, the timing couldn't have been better. All this stuff started happening all at once. And that was just, I launched into this music career from, 95 or 96. And sort of had this science degree in my back pocket. So when I thought, oh, okay, well, I wouldn't mind going back and doing some more study.
Yeah.
And this is what I say to my students: just get an undergraduate degree, because just that undergraduate degree got me into a research postgrad, right?
Okay.
Well, research training postgrad, which then got me into the PhD. And it wasn't a big step. It wasn't like massive.
And it didn't have to be related to what. Yeah, amazing.
It was like, because the research, the arts research postgrad was like a bridging degree, because it was, and I'd had massive experience in the arts, so it was, that probably helped. But but going into back into music and doing it what I'm doing now as a researcher and a teacher. Has been an incredible switch,
Yeah. What do you think is like the biggest thing you had to get used to, or sort of was surprised with from your transition from sort of like a musician, session musician, and everything to like academia?
Apart from going to work,
a part of having a 9-to-5 job.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that was the big thing. Probably the institution. Working within. I mean, it's, when you're working on television, you're still working within. It's like an institution. You're working within a production company, which is within back then, a television network and all that sort of stuff. So you're still, I guess, in a sort of an institution. But Monash is huge. It's just such a big institution, right? And I think just getting used to that, I think I'm finally used to it. But
just recently, after the TV show, after you got a TV show.
Oh yeah,
you sort of merged your two careers then.
Yeah,
sort of. Yeah, I just realized that you sort of merged like.
Sort of. Yeah.
I love when the universe works things out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I do feel very lucky that since whatever 30 odd years, I've only really done one thing, and that's make music. Whether I'm here at Monash or when I was a professional musician, all I've ever done is make music. And help others to make music. As we're going full circle talking about the support role.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about just sort of this is a weird wrap up, but like would be the last question sort of, but do you sort of ever think about what your life would have been if your music career did not take off then and you went into like science, sort of?
Yeah, I have thought about that a couple of times. I mean, the first degree I started when I left school, like when I finished school, was a teaching degree. And I left that degree to join a band. And then I ended up doing music and then going into science. So I wonder if I might have gone into teaching.
Right. You are.
Because I kind of am a teacher.
You are kind of a teacher, yeah.
So maybe that's what I would have done.
I think it's really nice that it's sort of a huge circle. Yeah. It's really different things, but it all there's a concurrent theme in it.
Yeah.
Yep, I think so.
It's really amazing. Thank you very much for coming in and sharing your experiences and the show.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.